You said that you've been lonely, makes you cold as ice. Hard to get to know me, but better than the lies. No way I'd let you slip by. No way I'd let you say bye. You said there ain't no reason, but I'll sit here every day, waiting for the moment I won't feel like I should stay. No way I'd let you slip by. No way I'd let you say bye. Can we watch it fade, fade away? Can we let it fade, fade away? We'll take it day by day. Can we watch it fade, fade away? You said that you've been searching, silencing your mind, trying to be patient, but running out of time. No way. If I could, I would get myself out this mess. If I could, I would.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's your boy N, and we are back for the new and full Fortress Defense guide. Finally, it is done. So just a few things about this base. As I mentioned in the start, I've made this base before anniversary, and I've used it from part 1 up until now, which is part 3 and throughout, and it's been doing really well. The results have been amazing, so I'm very happy with it and very confident in it. This is terrain 18 if you are not aware. So just a quick outlook on this base. So the main difference from this terrain 18 base from ones in the past is that we have a third water mask and another protective dragon installation. This is going to aid us in causing more separation, as you guys will see in the room before final. So this base in particular is heavily emphasized in trying to split your main and your support units in the start of the match, and focused on trying to get your shinobi to get in either the first hit or to kill your enemies in your outfield. We all know that certain shinobi, like Naruto the Last, for example, is really broken, and against any final four you are always against the odds, meaning the attacker always has the upper hand. So we are trying to kill most shinobi in our outfield, but obviously there are ways and strategies that you can use and apply for your final room to help counter certain shinobi like Naruto the Lost, etc., which I will go over and you'll see in the replays. Very excited about that as well. But overall, we are heavily focused on trying to kill enemies in our outfield, trying to get in the first hit, catch them off guard, separation, and death. And again, it's been doing very well, so I'm very happy with that. Now, I know the video is going to be long because there's going to be a lot of replays and a lot of explanations, etc. I'm actually trying to not add in all the replays because I have so many. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin and start. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get to work. Okay, so for our first room, which is our separation room, Now, with terrain 18, the way the room is made and positioned, this is the best angle that you could have for a separation room, in my opinion. With the way you can set up the water mask, the angle of the magnet trap, and the 3-star air trap. It's just a very good combination, and it almost always separates the main and all supportive units. Now, obviously, if the main is by themselves, it's easier to bypass any separation room, so keep that in mind. Now, a important factor is utilizing the 5-star magnet trap, and that's almost a must with this angle. Because the magnet trap is further away, you need the 5-star radius pull, which has a larger radius than the 3-star, and it's very important for this, again, this angle. And yeah, it will prove to be very effective. So for our first sub-killer room, we have Wandering Sasuke in combination with our huge CD increase installation, which is kind of hidden by the trees as a nice surprise sneak attack for our enemies, as they can't really see it or might not expect it. Now, a Wandering Sasuke in particular is very good for a few reasons. Number one, his AI setting is very good. He performs and uses a jutsu as programmed or as required. Number two, his animation causes a non-stop movement. Especially his new lemon break. In other words, he's stuck in animation, so it's very hard to knock him back. So if you don't EX him immediately or get in the first hit, he's more than likely to either paralyze you or EX you, which is very good. And I've seen a lot of attackers nowadays neglect paralysis resistance for some reason. So those who can cause paralysis also have the upper hand, like Warning Sasuke. Number 2 or 3, I believe, his new lemon break almost pulls you in. So if you try to kill Wandering Sasuke first, or get thrown near him, and you get pulled into his lemon break and he performs that cycle where you are trapped, because I have a huge CD increase installation on the other side, you might be stuck and helpless and not be able to use jutsu. So it just works really good, and you'll see in the replays right now. So for Wandering Sasuke, this is the best jutsu combination in my opinion, and as you've seen in the replays, his new Lone Break, his new 4-star, and then in third his old Lone Break. Thankfully I have them both at +3, so the damage and stripping abilities is that much better. Now in terms of his build, I have the necessary and required resistances, right? And then in terms of his stat build, I have good overall balanced build, so high HP, high attack, high defense, CP, etc. So it's like the best of everything. Now, because Sasuke does not have an evasion buff on his kit, we bonded him with Kid Naruto, who provides a team evasion buff, but also adds multiple hits as a follow-up, which could be very good. And as you've seen in the replays, works very well together. Okay, we then have our second separation room, which is aimed at trying to get in the first hit by throwing in the enemies into either our revive room, Sasuke Final Values room, or even Wani Sasuke's room, or at least split the main and supportive units so our shinobi can wake up first and get into action. Again, this aids in our separation process and strategy. In terms of the trap layout, we're trying to catch enemies by surprise. Normally, when an attacker sees a water mask and then a space in front of that water mask, they assume that the enemy has two 3-star air traps, which I do have, but then they don't assume that I would also have enough space to, let's say, have a 5-star magnet trap as well behind the two air traps. In this case, I'm using the 3-star magnet trap side by side the water mask. So let's say they set off traps from a distance, or they lunge past the air traps without setting off traps. They would then destroy the water mask with a normal punch. If they then set off traps, because they don't expect me to have space for a magnet trap, I can then catch them off guard and then hopefully pull them into the last water spray and send them flying. And you'll see that in the replays. If you don't want to use the magnet trap and you want to emphasize separation on the opposite side of the room as well, then you could maybe add in a third air trap, or build something similar. It's really up to you, but this has been quite effective in regards to the separation room. Okay, that was intense. So now for our revive combo room, we have Naruto the Lost with Itachi Anbu. So the reason why I have Itachi Anbu with Naruto Lost, and I've already made a video about this, we have Naruto Lost with his 4-star first because he activates that jutsu almost immediately. If you have his limit break first, he will run and punch, which is not good. Now because a Naruto Lost 4-star does not have evasion strip, we teamed him up with Itachi Anbu, who has evasion strip on both his limit break and his 4-star. So he will make up the difference, and they do well together like that, as you'll see in the videos. So yeah, for Naruto Lost, we have his 4-star first because again he activates that very fast, which is good. We have his Lunar Break in second, and then his clones in third. Now his build I did mess up recently because I was mixing around other tools and stuff like that, but it's okay. He's still good enough. He has the needed resistances. Now he in particular does not need super high attack, unlike let's say Sasuke Final Valley, because for example in attack modes he does not win in final rooms by a EX damage area like Sasuke Final Valley, which is why he needs such high attack. Sasuke Final Valley, Naruto the Lost normally wins because of his jutsu animations, his limit breaks, and stuff like that. So you could get away with like let's say attack at 70k plus, and then if you want to go for overall more defensive mode, you could maybe boost HP like 300k plus and defense trying to aim for like 60k plus. That's like a decent overall build. But I use him for attack missions as well. I use him for different modes, so I prefer a higher attack and balanced overall stats. So this is what's good for me, and obviously I can boost it or adjust it as I see fit as time goes on. So yeah, just to lay that out there. So for his follow-up, I have him bundled with Sasuke the Lost simply because it's short and sweet. It's efficient, strong, because they both have a bond of level 13. The follow-up bond is 13, so it's stronger. Some effects are further amplified. Now, if you don't want to use Sasuke the Lost for attack types, I always recommend a follow-up that either pulls you in or traps you, like let's say Baryon Mode's follow-up, Itachi V1, Gaara V1, something that pulls you into a attack type's range is always very beneficial. For Itachi Anbu, again, his role is to support Naruto the Lost with evasion strip, etc. And that extra benefit of having him is that he causes paralysis. And again, a lot of mains nowadays are neglecting paralysis resistances, so that's an added benefit as well. His build is very basic and simple. That's because I don't have his personal tools to, build something crazy. But again, this is still effective and efficient. Needed resistances, decent amount of HP for blue type shinobi, good amount of attack, decent amount of defense, etc. Everything you want and need so far. In terms of his bond, I have him bonded with Naruto Lost simply because the animation has a decent amount of range, which is good. And then most importantly, the animation's duration is fairly decent for follow up. And seeing that Itachi's jutsu is so fast, you would like something or a follow up that has a longer duration, that which could also lead to a delayed knockback, etc. Now, depending on the goal of your paired unit, it would also determine the follow-up. So for example, if I'm using a revive unit who doesn't get status immunity first on their jutsu, I could maybe bond in with someone who gives status immunity for a team, like Baruto vs Momo. Then for our third separation room, which again aids in separation, trying to get in the first hit or split the enemy or the main. This is very important, especially for enemies who land on the left hand side of the room. Normally they skip what's in the middle or on the right hand side and gate crash, but because we have a separation room here before final, we can either throw enemies back into revive or Sasuke final virus room, which is very convenient and again different to past terrain 18 bases. So we're using the third water mask here with a 5-star magnet trap. Again, the same principle as the first separation room in the beginning. The pull and the radius of the 5-star magnet trap is greater. Then we have the bigger water mask that's obviously a bit harder to break. Normally, it could require 1 or 2 punches, which could work in your favor. We had then for our first air trap, you can position it in different ways or different entries depending on where or what you want to counter. I have it sometimes in the middle, sometimes I have it at the start of the middle room, just because enemies rush and maybe overstep. You could have it by the installation. If they land on the right hand side in Sasuke final balance room, then they go and try to destroy the installation very quick and or rush. They could land on that air trap and get thrown into our revive room. So it just depends on what you want to counter. Different attackers will give you different scenarios. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then one of the main reasons as to why I'm not trying to force Gate Crash here is because mains like Naruto the Lost, Sasuke the Lost, and Sasuke Shadow, their normal punch can destroy any installation like a force Gate Crash over here, by just stepping close to that wall slash barricade type thing, and that basically defeats the purpose of having your force Gate Crash installation, as it's not going to be effective. So I mean, yes, you can try and still use it and play around with it. I'm sure there's certain situations where it can work, right? Maybe it throws in a supportive unit and stuff like that. For our third and one of the best rooms ever in Fortress Defense, and in particularly with Sasuke Final Valley, is our third fly room. No, our second fly room with with Sasuke Final Valley. Absolutely insane. You guys have already seen some replays, and that's not even his room focus videos. Absolutely insane. Like the way kit is made, he's just built for destruction and death, man. So if you look at the traps, we have air traps in vital spots where the enemy might land or step on, especially from the entrance side. We have two mirrors which will help hide his presence or camouflage him. If you can't see him, you can't really see what's happening. You can't even tell if the EX ult is coming your way, because many mains right now are again neglecting paralysis resistance. We have a paralysis trap. Um, the reason why this room is so good for Sasuke Final Valley is because it's an open room. He's positioned in the middle, so even if you enter from the entrance or get sent in flying, because he's in the middle, he's basically always going to be in a close range to you. So he's going to get into his lumber breaks animation real quick, which is a true iframe. Strips you. It has protection. It creates an infinite combo chain, and with the way I built him, his attack power and everything else just goes together really good. So it just works overall very well together. And again, the way I built him for certain specific reasons. So yeah, pretty crazy. So obviously you guys all know by now that this is the best jutsu order for Sasuke Final Valley, right? Now, in terms of his build, so you'll notice that I don't have 130% seal. Sasuke Final Valley in particular, and with the room that I'm using him, with the open room, he doesn't need 130% seal, I believe, because he's in the middle, he's in close range to normally all the enemies. He will instantly get into his lumber breaks through iframe animation, so he's normally safe and can't be sealed. And even with having only 100% seal, I haven't been sealed just yet, and I'm trying to emphasize a fly room kill shinobi with high attack, a decent amount of HP, and high defense. So this just works well with my ideas and my strategy. And again, as you've seen, it's been doing extremely well based on the replays and results. And I haven't seen any drawbacks, right? And I use him for my support units in Great Guild War, attack mission, and stuff like that. So overall, it just works well together. Now, what you must have is 140% confusion, because, for example, Naruto the Lost can precast and throw that Rasen Shuriken, which strips confusion, and then if his lumber break then lands, you will then be confused. So it's a different scenario. Yeah. Then we have our water pad summoning, which can stall for time or potentially kill a main, but its main function is to force a certain direction of separation. If you get sent flying in from the left hand side while that blue water pad summoning is undefeated, you will be force thrown into either my revive room or back into Barion's room. And the same would apply if you enter from the right hand side or the middle hand side. You will be forced and thrown into either the revive room or into Sasuke Final Valley's room. So yeah, it has its different uses and benefits. Now, typically the recommended shinobis that you would use for water pad summoning are those who could activate the jutsu fast, like Narukage, Sakura Mom 5-star heal, or just those in general who are built fairly well to stand on their own with the needed resistances. Purple units especially, because they are able to tank more damage from attack types like a Naruto the Lost, and that's basically what you see in your log the most, so that could be very beneficial. And again, for example, someone like Sakura Mom, whose new EX output has damage nullification, that could also aid in stalling and potentially trying to kill enemies, right? Now, in my case with Kao and Minato, I like him because his new Lumber Breaks AI detection is very good. So no matter where you are in his room, he will automatically use his limit break, which is beneficial. And again, he is a purple type, so he will be able to tank a bit more damage from attack types such as Naruto the Lost. So yeah, there's different shinobi that you could use for water band summoning, but the key thing is to build that shinobi decent enough to where they could stand by themselves, tank maybe just enough damage to hopefully EX alter enemies, etc. So yeah, that's very important and a basic rule. In terms of his follow up with Kawa and Minato, I have him bundled with Naruto and 20th because his new kit and his old kit does not have evasion strip, so just trying to make up for what he doesn't have. So yeah. So then we have our fourth separation room and our last separation room, and we're utilizing air traps and magnet traps and so to try and trick the enemy, get them off guard or separate them. There's many different ways that you can go about using this room in terms of separation. Like for example, I'm using a 5-star magnet trap over there. If I want, I could take away my my 5-star magnet trap and equip 2 3-star magnet traps, you know. But then that would mean I would have to change some of the other rooms. But like this, for example, I can get 2 magnet traps both below and above to hopefully catch the enemies by surprise in both directions. So it really just depends. I have the present box below because you can't really lunge past that. You have to get close up, so that can be a nice counter to some enemies. We have a barricade in certain positions because some people like to lunge forward or lunge past it, and the barricade will hopefully stop them, you know. So yeah, there's different ways that you can go about doing this. So for our final outfield room, we have our third or fourth fly room with barrier mode. Now, if you look at the traps and installations, we have air traps in vital spots where the enemy might land or go to, right? Then, most importantly, we have 2 red pots, and the reason for this is number 1 to draw either the enemy or support's attention away from your shinobi. So it allows our shinobi to breathe and maybe get in an EX ultimate or a jutsu. And then number 2, it forces your enemies to lock onto target, and again divert their attention away from your shinobi, which could help them in many different ways. And then as an added benefit, it increases attack, etc. So there's a few benefits to this room for your shinobi in particular, and to maybe catch the enemy off guard. So with barrier mode, I actually have an interesting jutsu combination, but you have to understand two things about both his limit breaks. So number one, his new limit breaks stripping abilities is great at +3 obviously, and it has evasion strip. The downside is that the AI detection is not great, meaning the enemy has to be close to barrier for him to use his new limit break first, right? Now with his old limit break, it has evasion as a buff, and AI detection is better than his new limit break, meaning that the enemy can be further away. However, he will use his old limit break fast and almost immediately. However, it does not have evasion strip. So for me, what I value the most right now is evasion strip because I want to get in the first hit. If the enemy has evasion and they land into my room and I have his old limit break first, I'm not going to make any contact because his old limit break can't strip evasion. So that's why I value evasion strip over his old limit break. And then in third, we have his follow up punch. Number one, because I want to use his follow up, and number two, because I don't want to use his new 4-star, which provides status immunity. With his punch and both limit breaks, he doesn't get status immunity, which means he's in a better place to force a EX ultimate with damage nullification. That's a good combo. He's both overall really good for both attack and defense purposes. Now, if you look at his confusion resistance, I have 139.25%. That's still enough. It just means that I have a 0.75% chance of getting a confusion stripping debuff. So that means I have a less than 1% chance to get that confusion strip debuff. It's most likely never going to happen. So 139% 0.25% is fine. I don't need to stress about it. But obviously getting 140% on the mark is even better. Because we're not using his bond jutsu, we can't equip him with a follow-up. But in my case and for my strategy, I don't need to. It's not a big deal. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for our final four and for a combination that I did not share yet publicly, there's two main aspects of this, and that includes KRM Naruto and Gaara, which we're gonna go over. So first with KRM Naruto, I did explain this one with his using his old role as a true iframe and precast, but then with Gaara, I'm using his bond. Now there's a specific reason for this, which I will go over, and you guys will see the replays and how I counter certain entries. And then some important factors that you also have to take into account. You need to have Naruto Final Valley and KRM Naruto on the far left and far right. This is mainly to try and counter Naruto the Last because his precast shuriken will normally land in the middle. So you want to try and keep them out of the middle so that they can get into their jutsu and not be affected or trapped, you know. So I'm first going to talk about KRM and Gaara real quick, and then we'll go into the last two. So as I showed you guys in one of my videos before making this full guide, when you use his old roar, he immediately casts this roar no matter what jutsu order you have him in, and this is good for a few reasons. Number one, it's a true iframe, so in certain full clears like against Naruto the Last and his precast 4-star shuriken, he will not be affected by this and not die because he will immediately go into his iframe and stay protected, while also providing a team evasion buff to your allies. In terms of a gate crash, he will not run forward. He will stay back and cast his old raw true iframe, so he's protected, and he will help his enemies not get trapped in the beginning, right? Now, one thing I did not mention in my other video was that at a certain jutsu level, obviously you decrease the cooldown time. Now at level 8, his cooldown time for his old raw goes to 10 seconds from level 1, which I think 17 seconds, which means he has a higher probability of casting this jutsu throughout the match long term. Now some people think it's good, some people think it's bad. Some people think it's bad because they only want him to use his raw once, and then for the rest of the match, try to use his new kit, which I agree with and I see the point. But it's not bad in the sense that if you have it at a higher jutsu level, in terms of long-term matches, this iframe is better than his new 4-star. And if you have his new EX ultimate with team damage nullification, he will always be protected, and that's his job, right? To stay alive, protect the team, besides stripping and stuff. So if he can cast his old raw and stay alive, in comparison to using his 4-star and dying in long-term matches, I would prefer him spamming his new limit break and his old raw more. So it just depends on the situation and the scenario. And I have his old row at level 3 and it's been working really well, so I don't really need to change or whatever. It just depends. But I do wish I had his new EX again because of the team damage nullification buff, which again plays a huge role in long-term matches and could potentially save you, right? For his build, he is a green type, so he gets a 30% added paralysis boost. So we only need 100%, then we need 140% anti-confusion. For his stat build, again, his purpose and role is to survive, keep the team alive, etc. So we built him with high HP, a good amount of attack for a green type shinobi, and again with a higher defense build, again to help him tank more damage, stay alive, da da da. For final four follow-ups, I always recommend Shinobi or follow-ups that could drain CP. With this follow-up in particular, which is Sasuke in 20th, shoots out a double fireball, so you get extra CP drainage, but also a good knockback with a good amount of range. And again, it can make it very hard for enemies to move around and breathe. So I highly recommend this, and it's working out really good. And now with Gara V1, the main reason as to why I'm using his bond is that I don't want him to use his EX ultimate immediately, because I've already shown you guys how sometimes, depending on the AI, it can actually work against your final four if Gara uses his EX immediately, and that actually traps your enemies against, let's say, a Naruto the Last 4-star Shuriken precast jutsu. So because we have his bond, he will normally stay back like KLM and precast his 4-star, which is what we want. We can then use a bond jutsu with that as well as a follow-up. And then as soon as he's done using his bond, he will then use his invincibility, which is then called delayed invincibility and works in our favor in different situations, such as a full clear and against gate crashes, which I will show you in the replay. So it works out. But again, in combination with KLM and his new Jutsu order with a Naruto Final Valley and a double limit break iframe precast, it works very well together. Now, once in a while, he might cast his EX first. It really depends. But for the most part, when you have his bond on, he will always cast his bond first and then his EX ultimate. In terms of his build, it's nothing too crazy. A decent amount of HP defense with the necessary and needed resistances. Yeah. And because we have his bond on, we can again use a follow-up, and I always recommend again a CP stealer. So here we are using Sasuke vs Jigen, who again zap CP. It will instantly go to wherever you are, I believe, or the range is much bigger. So yeah, it works out well. And then we have Sasuke the Lost, and one of the main reasons as to why he's so good in Final 4 is because his limit break increases your ninjutsu cooldown time. So if you are hit by it or its damage area from the limit break, then you can't really use a ninjutsu as fast as you would like, which opens you up to being killed, right? At +3, his stripping effects are above and beyond, right? This is the best jutsu combo for him. He will normally always spam his new limit break and bond first and second, which is what you want, and then he will use his third jutsu once in a while, which is good. It's not bad. It does strip certain resistances as well, so overall it's decent enough. With his build, it's a balanced defense attack build with a higher defense build, and I just wanted to try it out. 30% added seal from his part 3, so we only need 100%, and then we need 140% for confusion. So we're ticking all the boxes so far. And then for his follow-up, we have him with Baron mode, which again is a great CP stealer follow-up. It pulls you in, it has a better crowd control effect, good amount of range, attack, etc. Then last but not least, with Naruto Final Valley and with my Final 4 combination, you need him to have a double limit break combination. You can't use his 4-star. If you use his 4-star in this day and age, he's going to cast that first. And again, certain shinobi like Naruto the Lost and his full clear entries and gate crash entries, if he's not in his true iframe, he's going to die. So I always recommend, especially now, to use a double limit break, and it's essential for my Final 4 combination. If we look at his build, he's built really well for both defense and attack. Because again, his role is to support the team, but also stay alive, be able to tank enough damage, etc. So his build is really important. We also have him built with the necessary resistances. He is an orange type, so he gets 30% added paralysis, which means we need 100% paralysis and 140% anti-confusion. So let's watch some of the replays and you guys can get a better idea of what I'm talking about.
離すんじゃねえぞ。離すんじゃねえぞ。離すんじゃ。離すんじゃねえぞ。離すんじゃねえぞ。離すんじゃねえぞ。離すんじゃねえぞ。離すんじゃねえぞ。問題はない。竹にかぞ。これでどうだってばよ。みんな行くってばよ。みんな